What's up, zoners? You have already seen the strength of schedule for all of your 2025 fantasy football players, but have you seen the strength of schedule for the fantasy football playoffs? There are very few websites, man, that narrow it down to those 3 weeks, weeks 15 through 17. And guess what, man? When you check it yourself, it doesn't make sense. It is wrong, dude. So I've been doing this for like 3 years. I assign numerical values to these players to find out who actually does have the best and worst fantasy football playoff schedule for next season. All right. So I show my work. These websites do not. Check this shit out. All right, so if you are gambling on some high-risk best ball players, man, you got to check on this. If you are making dynasty trades, for God's sakes, man, pay attention to the fantasy football playoff schedule. Breece Hall, for God's sakes, has an amazing schedule. Justin Jefferson, holy shit, man, an amazing schedule. We will also be going over the worst, so pay attention to that. But you got to hold on for the best 7 seconds of your life. All right, you are looking at a table of running backs. All right, we're doing running backs and wide receivers today. If this show hits at all, we will be doing quarterbacks and tight ends. Okay, I do think that the schedule matters more for the running backs and wide receivers. That's why I'm hitting them first, dog. So the first column is the running back's name, are the running back's names. The second column is where they're going right now in fantasy football drafts, their average draft position, their ADP. And then, hey, man, week 15, they're going against Jacksonville. Jacksonville gave up the second most fantasy points to running backs last season. That's why they have a number assigned to them as a 2. Week 16, New Orleans, man. New Orleans gave up the 5th most fantasy points per game to running backs. That's a 5. So New England? No, New England's defense will be much better, but they've got to improve greatly to get into the top third against the run. So New England is a great matchup as well. Week 17, they gave up the 8th most fantasy points to running backs last year. That's why they got an 8. You add up 2 and 5 and 8 together, 7 plus 8, dude, 15. That is Breece Hall's numerical value for the strength of schedule. And also, if you are a top 10 matchup, I highlighted you in green. If you were a bottom 10, all right, like Atlanta, 23, I highlighted you in red. So we can look through this and see who has maybe 3 great matchups like Breece Hall, 2 out of 3 like Jonathan Taylor. All right, that's great. 2 out of 3 just like, dude, Tennessee and Chicago force you to run the ball, man, and then it gets Indianapolis. So Christian McCaffrey actually has a pretty damn good matchups. Kenneth Walker, people love him as a sleeper this year, and he gets Carolina in week 17, championship, dog. Alvin Kamara, Carolina week 1, so he's going to get you through that first week, more than likely. And then let's go down to the opposite end of the spectrum. I'll go slow so you can look back at this. But again, dude, so we're going in order of the total numerical values. So when you add up all of the players that they're going, or all the teams that they're going against, the defenses. So Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson, we are looking for a running back to be a value coming out of Pittsburgh. But right now, dude, they got to go against Detroit and Cleveland. Detroit and Cleveland's going to be amazing against the run next season as well. Holy shit, man. They're not going to help you out too much in 2/3 of the fantasy football playoffs. And then, hey, man, I just heard Javonte Williams. He's the best he's ever been. He's the best he's ever been. The blue guy predicts he's going to be the fantasy rookie, the offensive rookie of the year for Dallas. Well, guess what, man? You got to overcome a lot because they got to go against Minnesota and the fucking Chargers, dude. In the first 2 weeks, I guarantee my Vikings with Brian Flores will still be killing the run. And then you got Jim Harbaugh up there, down over there with the Chargers. So, yeah, Javonte Williams, probably 2 bad weeks. And then you get Washington with Dan Snyder, Quinn something. I can't remember his name, but he's a defensive head coach. So he will probably be stopping the run. Okay, and then Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. Oh, I highlighted that one wrong. That's supposed to be a red. But still, not great matchups. James Cook, dude, 2 out of the 3 terrible matchups. Omarion Hampton has to go against Kansas City, dude, in week 15. That is god-awful. It gets Dallas, then Houston with D'Amico Ryans and that linebacker core. I don't like that either. 2 out of 3 bad matchups for Kyren Williams and James Conner. I love James Conner this year. We just talked about how he actually has a very favorable schedule if you're looking at the big picture. But when you narrow it down to the playoffs, terrible matchups, dude. And then Ashton Jeanty, also 2 out of 3 bad matchups. Not great. And those are the running backs. All right, next up, let's go over the wide receivers, man. I just talked about Justin Jefferson, for God's sakes, reinforcing his high draft pick. He gets Dallas. All right, I know that the Dallas had a couple cornerbacks that were injured last year. Deron Bland had to come back and be the number 1. But still, dude, great matchup. I think it's the Giants, dude. And the reason that people don't have 1,000,000 yards against the Giants is because they go up by 21 points. Then they have to run the ball the entire time because the Giants can't score any fucking points. I do think the Giants will be better offensively than they were last year. That's not saying much, but still, probably a great matchup. And then Detroit, dude, they stop the run. They are a pass funnel defense. You have to throw the ball to move the ball against them. So 2 out of 3 matchups, man. And the Giants are the third matchup. Poor Justin Jefferson. Love his playoff schedule. I mean, coming in at 23, that's amazing as far as the total score. And then for Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, man, amazing playoff schedules. Puka Nacua, I think, was ranked PFF's number 1 wide receiver last year, so it's not like he's coming out of nowhere. And then Devontae Adams, man, could be the value of the draft for all we know. Just go watch some of the Sean McVay in the training camp stuff with Devontae Adams, man. He's already getting a hard on for him. So Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, I am investing in both. I don't know. One's going to hit hard, and I don't know which is going to do it. And then, man, Garrett Wilson, we've been hearing about Justin Fields, dude, going off right now. All I'm hearing about is Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields. And Breece Hall has a great matchup as well. So that whole team, man, they're going to be some value players on the Jets. I usually avoid the Jets, but they are being priced accordingly right now. And right now, he's going as wide receiver 19, and this fool has Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, my God. New Orleans Saints with Kellen Moore. You think that fool's going to turn the fucking defense around? I don't think so. And then New England. So New England, like I said, I do expect them to be much better this year, but they've got to make a big turnaround to make a difference, to be in the top third against the pass. And then, hey, man, King Tet, the top rookie coming out for Bryce Young. I mean, where he's going right now, wide receiver 31, I am thinking about drafting him. If he was on my flex, that's actually great, dude. So Marvin Harrison Jr. was breaking in the top 12 last year. This fool is going in the top 32. So, yeah, I like the price there. He gets New Orleans, Tampa Bay. Man, Tampa Bay can't stop shit. They never have been. And then Seattle's defense should be a lot better as well. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown and Marvin Harrison Jr. both like in the 33-33, Jameson Williams. So Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams both have great matchups. That's so funny. That's good. So Minnesota in week 17 is ridiculous, dude. So Minnesota sells out to stop the run. They can't stop the pass, for God's sakes, dude. Unless something changes big time, Minnesota will still be giving up a ton of points. So I love Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown near the end of the year. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., man, if you want a bounce back for somebody, that is a good candidate. He's got two of three great matchups in the playoff schedule, in the fantasy playoffs. And then I talked about targeting JSN. He is just in the middle on everything. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's go down to see who's got the worst matchups. You can kind of go through here slow if you really need to. Jerry Jeudy, man. I was kind of pissed off about this when I saw it because I was like, dude, nobody's talking about Jerry Jeudy. And we got Joe Flacco. Jerry Jeudy could literally be a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in this league. He gets fucking Chicago, man. Jalen Johnson, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Him and Patrick Surtain, I don't want to mess with. So he's got one of the top 2 lockdown corners going against in the first week of the playoffs. That's terrible. Then he gets Buffalo, who was really good against the pass and terrible against the run. So people run the ball a lot against them. I don't like that either, especially with the 2 running backs that the Cleveland just drafted. And then Pittsburgh, man, I don't ever really like playing running backs or wide receivers against Pittsburgh. That's just the way it is. Devonta Smith has to go against Las Vegas, had a great had a great passing defense last year. And now they get Pete Carroll, who loves safeties and defense. So I expect them to stay up in that upper tier against the pass. Then Ray Rice and Xavier Worthy have the Chargers, Tennessee, and fucking Denver, dude. So Rashee Rice, if he comes back, getting that Patrick Surtain, and then getting the cornerback, I can't remember who they traded over to Tennessee, it still was great from Kansas City. Lamarcus Sneed, something like that. And the Chargers, man, their defense is going to be great until Jim Harbaugh leaves. So that's terrible. Nico Collins, 2 of 3 bad matchups. Calvin Ridley, dude. I was pushing Calvin Ridley because I loved his situation this year, and then going as wide receiver 33. This fool gets the 49ers, Kansas City, and then New Orleans. So if you make it through the gauntlet of San Francisco and Kansas City, you get a break with New Orleans. But other than that, man, I do not like it. Cortland Sutton, not great matchups either. Green Bay's defense was super young last year and great against the pass. Holy shit. And then he's got Kansas City. So one good matchup, but Cortland Sutton, that's not great either. Rome Odunze, 2 of 3 bad matchups. Same thing with DJ Moore. And then Zay Flowers is kind of in the middle, but then we're still looking at 2 out of 3 bad matchups. T. Higgins, man. Jamar Chase. So Miami was the best against the pass, and they've got to go against him in the second week of the playoffs. It's terrible. And then Arizona, dude. Arizona's defense, they just drafted so many defensive players. It is insane, and they still have that defensive head coach from the Eagles. So, hey, man, there's a lot to take in right here. But if you take this, it should make you change your mind on some wide receivers, maybe pick some over some others, and just bank, man, on getting to the playoffs healthy, and then it will pay off. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this quick episode. It should just be a quick reference video when you're thinking about trading for players in Dynasty or picking up players in Best Ball, or if you just can't decide between two wide receivers or running backs, this should break that tie for you. Again, you're looking in the future because these players need to be healthy, man, in weeks 15 through 17 for it to even matter. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription, man. I'm still begging for subscriptions out here, man. I'm on the street corner. I'll get on my knees for this shit, dog. Anyways, please help the show out, man. We need it. We need it. We got a live Friday episode coming out soon, and Jason's got a video as well, a shorter video, which should be interesting. All right, man. So this is Tyler Big Turd Ward. This is the Fantasy Red Zone, and we appreciate you.